And I turned around to see a man brandishing a knife at me. I didn't immediately realize that that was what was happening. I thought that my coworkers had been pushed, and then I looked down at my shoulder and realized, oh, no, I'm bleeding. I've been stabbed.
We reported this as a breaking thing. Got age restricted, unfortunately. Makes sense. Obviously, we were showing something pretty gross, but we censored the hell out of it.
Can I say something first?
Sure.
So if you guys don't know, 4 people were stabbed in Jilin, northern China.
4 foreigners.
4 foreigners.
When we say foreigners,
3
we
American
mean
citizens.
non-Chinese people.
Yes, 3 American citizens. One was
American permanent resident.
American
knows?
resident or something.
Some
Iowan.
other kind
He
of
said an
foreigner.
Iowan.
Okay.
So someone in Iowa, but not from America.
Yeah, some
that doesn't actually matter.
random foreigner.
Yes.
Why can't they tell us?
I don't know. But anyway, let's just pretend that doesn't matter. And
right.
let's just say that this happened and China's absolutely going ape. They're losing their mind trying to make sure that people don't think this is like some common occurrence, right?
Yeah. Anyway, let's go through this timeline because now we have the full story and it's kind of insidious what's been going on here. So I got a hold of this bolo. It's like an internal thing that the police sent out to so they sent it out to all the branches of the police and they distributed. And it says here, at about 11:40 on June 10, 2024, a criminal case occurred in Beishan Park, whatever district in Jilin. 5 people were injured to varying degrees at the scene. They are now being treated in the hospital. Their lives are not in danger. According to the work report, Cui Dapeng, male, ID number XYZ, household register. I blanked it out on purpose because I'm not going to dox the guy.
Even though he's a
even though he's a stabbing murderer, whatever, attempted murderer. Registration address, this and that. So they have his address, they have his ID number, and all that kind of stuff. When he escaped, he was wearing black long sleeves, black pants, and a headband, black hat, no glasses. He's about 1.75 meters tall and medium build. Etc. So this is like all units are required to immediately distribute this. What is it? This notice to the. It's so small up there. What is it? To the something or other. I can't. You guys can probably read it better than I can.
Yeah, you get the idea.
Yeah. Anyway, the fact of the matter. This is the thing. They put his picture out there. They put it out there to all the police stations. So they knew this was going on. They sent it out there. They knew it was a criminal case. But then, of course, it was silent. The Chinese media and the Chinese government said nothing. All right?
So remember, 4 college professor people from America got stabbed in a park by this dude.
Yes.
And the Chinese media didn't talk. In fact, they scrubbed it.
Yeah. So now the reason we knew about it, the reason we could post about it is because it was shared on Chinese social media. People showed the video that we showed. We censored it, of course, but people were showing it around on Chinese social media.
Yes.
And so we found this video and we were like, holy crap, foreigners have been stabbed. They sound American. Why is nobody talking about this? Why hasn't there been any kind of a press release from the Chinese government? Why is there no news about it in the West or from China? Why is it being scrubbed from the Chinese internet? Which it was. Chinese censored, removed all the videos. The censorship removed the videos. They removed discussions about it, okay? Anyway, when it was floating around the internet, I just wanted to show you the kind of comments that some people were leaving. Not everybody, of course, but some people. The Chinese do not provoke, and the Chinese are not afraid of provocation. Chinese, be nice to Chinese, so they mean treat the stabber well. 4 against 1, that's self-defense. Who started it? Explain.
At least someone said this comment section is crazy.
Yeah, this comment section is crazy. Yeah, he's a murderer first, and is Jilin public security? Question mark. Self-defense. How can one man stand up to 4? Self-defense. So immediately off the bat, people are standing on the side of the attacker, saying it's self-defense against 4 foreigners.
We'll talk about why later. It's not even their fault that they would think that.
Exactly. So anyway, this is the kind of thing that's going on now. Media silence. Okay, it's starting to spread around on social media like Twitter. We put out a video that I hopefully you guys all watched, just showing the video and explaining that it happened. So the CCP shills jump into overdrive. And something that they all had in common is you got to understand these guys are puppets, okay? They have somebody at the top who tells them what to say. It's pretty simple, and it's very straightforward if you read their tweets.
Yeah, and these are, by the way, these are people from England, Canada, America, New Zealand. These are English speakers. These are not like Chinese people that work for the state.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, you see how they all try to the spin doctors come out, they try to like play it down. They're like, oh, this shouldn't be sensationalized. I've spent many years and there are no violent crimes here, very little violent crimes. It's like, oh, you know, I of course condemn this attack and hope the person responsible is quickly caught, you know, but I do not believe this was an attack against foreigners.
Tell me you're doing cover-up without telling me you're doing cover-up.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I condemn this attack.
Yeah.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. That's what it sounds like.
I suspect the 4 people involved were just in the wrong place at the wrong time. You know, here's the thing.
What does that mean?
It was a crowded park on a public holiday, a tourist attraction, but only the foreigners got stabbed. I don't think it was not a foreign targeted thing. Because if this guy was going out to do a mass stabbing spree, he would have stabbed everyone. Hundreds of people were there.
He stabbed the 4 Americans.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, 3 Americans and 1 non-American.
Yes.
But we don't know. No one knows what.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, yeah, sorry. The part I want to pay attention to here is he's like, oh, the victims are not in a critical condition. It's likely they'll make a full recovery, and there's currently no indication of motive, and there was no altercation involved.
I'm gonna pull up a definition real quick.
Yeah. What is altercation?
Just so you know, a noisy, heated, angry dispute.
Yes. How does he even know that?
How do you know as a commentator when there was no Chinese news coverage about what happened?
That's because he's saying what he was supposed to say, what he was told
correct.
to say. And here's the part I want us to pay attention to. If you're wondering why Chinese media aren't reporting on this incident much yet, in other words, not at all, because they hadn't reported anything, you need to understand that Chinese media does not encourage speculation, rumors, and scaremongering on incidents like this.
We're getting comments, by the way, that the 4th person stabbed was an Indian national. We don't know about that yet.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
He is a college professor from that.
I'm just saying it's probably another foreigner, right?
Yeah, yes. Chinese media like to announce clear and accurate information. It is likely that a full statement will be made after initial investigations have taken place. Okay, so then let's look at another CCP shill comes out, another spin doctor. I wish the victim's speedy recovery, blah, blah, blah. China is extremely safe. Look how both of them have to make this like, China is extremely safe. This kind of attack is very rare, and it's deeply shocking for Chinese people as much as anyone else. That's not true. It's not rare, okay? For anyone wondering why Chinese media aren't reporting on this incident yet, you need to understand that China does not encourage speculation, rumors, and scaremongering. You see, that's the exact same words.
It is.
He was told to say the exact same thing as the other CCP shill. So somebody was going into damage control and was like, okay, this is what you got to go say. This is what you need to tell everyone.
Yep.
You know, yeah, we're not covering it. And that's because we don't want to speculate and scaremonger or whatever.
That's true.
And that's what they did. Again, in China, clear and accurate information is preferred, especially relating to serious incidents like this. That takes time. I anticipate an official announcement this evening or so. So it's the same message.
Yes.
In different words. Okay. So finally, 30 hours later, Chinese media is allowed to report on this.
30 hours.
30 hours later. Okay? And so they put out this sort of weak-ass report. And the reason I call it weak is, first of all, they just say 4 foreigners and 1 Chinese tourist was stabbed.
Yes.
They didn't mention Americans at all. Okay?
Okay.
They also, over here, said, and this is the important part, at 11:49 on June 10, the Bureau received an instruction from the Municipal Public Security Bureau, 110, which is like 911, to dispatch police saying that an injury case occurred. An injury case. Now, look, this is a translation, but so was the other one, and I double-checked it, and the words used were different. Remember in the bolo they put out, they said it was a criminal case. Now, in the official news, they say it's an injury case. They're trying to downplay it.
Yes.
Okay, they're trying to say, oh, it's not a big deal, right? It says, the police from the local police station rushed to the scene quickly, sent the injured to hospital for treatment immediately, and quickly arrested the suspect after investigation. Say Momo, and okay, here's the thing. Cui, we know his name is Cui Da-peng, but Momo means so-and-so.
So like when John Smith or whatever.
Yeah, it's like when it's kind of like when you just want to say blah, blah.
Yes.
If you don't know, if you don't want to like reveal the person's name maybe, or maybe you don't know the person's name, you'll say like whatever, so-and-so.
It's like Jane, in the Jane Doe. Sorry, Jane Doe.
It'll be like
John Doe.
John Doe, something like that. But anyway, they said Cui Momo, male, 55 years old, from whatever district in Jilin City, collided with a foreigner while walking in Beishan Park and stabbed the foreigner and 3 foreigners traveling with him.
This makes it sound literally
with a knife.
When you read that, it sounds like a cutlery error, like a man just going like, "Oh, oops."
Yeah. And he, according to this report, he also stabbed a Chinese tourist, domestic tourist, a Chinese tourist who stepped forward to intervene. Okay? So apparently a Chinese, and this is something we don't know is true or not, because they haven't released the name, and they haven't released anything about this other than the fact that one Chinese person was also injured who apparently stepped forward to try and intervene. So he also gets stabbed.
Apparently he doesn't matter, according to the Chinese internet, because they don't show who that was.
They don't show, they don't discuss.
To help.
You would think if there was this heroic guy who tried to help,
show the hero,
they would like actually show it. I don't know if this is a narrative or what. Bottom line over here is that they say that they bumped, like the foreigners bumped into this guy, and so he stabbed them. Okay, you'll hear more about that in a minute. So I just wanted to show you that the official news all said exactly the same thing, and they're all like it's an injury case rather than a criminal case, and they all released it at the same time, which was about it's at 1823. So that was all of them are around about that time, give or take 10 minutes. So 30 hours later, they released a statement, okay? Then the foreign ministry spokesperson put out a statement, and answered some questions and whatnot, and said, this is what they said, the recent incident of the injury of foreign teachers, again, injury. It's not an injury, it's a wound, by the way. Learn the difference. Injury is if like you're running down the track and you're like, oh, I twisted my ankle.
Yeah.
That's an injury, sports injury. We don't say a sports wound.
No,
but if someone,
sports wound.
Yeah, exactly. There is a difference, and they use this language on purpose because a wound is when somebody inflicts damage on somebody. Yes. Like if I stabbed you now, I would be inflicting a wound on you, not an injury. This isn't like, you injured your arm. Did you injure your arm? Did you injure that? I've felt that before. Yeah, exactly. So they say it's an injury incident. Now, this has not been translated from Chinese. This is the English press release or whatever from the Chinese government. They use the word injury in their English release. That is deceptive. It's a wound. Okay, so the recent incident of the wounding of foreign teachers, I'm going to fix it for you there, from the United States in China was an isolated incident which will not affect the normal people-to-people exchanges between China and the United States.
Can you just say that?
This will not affect it.
You can't say that.
No.
That's not how this works.
You don't get to make that choice.
No.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but
I'm sorry, Chinese government. You did this, by the way.
Yeah. So that was the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Li Jian. He said that on Tuesday. Lin made the remarks at a regular press briefing when answering a query concerning the incident. According to the spokesperson, 4 foreign teachers from Beihua University, Jilin City, northeast China's Jilin province, were attacked when touring the city's Beishan Park on the morning of June 10th. All the injured were rushed to the hospital and received proper medical treatment. None of them is in critical condition. Preliminary police assessment shows it is an isolated incident. Further investigation is still underway. So that's kind of the way it's going. By the way, Wednesday onwards, there was no mention of it from any Chinese officials, any official Chinese channels. They didn't mention it. There's no tweets about it by any of the ambassadors or any of the Chinese officials. It's just silence. They're trying their best to bury this, and only when pressed did they say like, "Oh, it's just an injury thing, and it won't affect the relations."
They're trying to bury this so freaking hard. They're actually great Axios article. Was it Axios article?
Maybe.
The headline was like, China really wants to go away.
Move on from this
fast.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to show you how China employs its propagandists to twist this narrative, okay? So here you've got
Yaqiu Wang.
Yeah, Yaqiu Wang on Twitter put this out. Said
Wang Yaqiu.
Sorry, Wang Yaqiu. Busting the myth that China is very safe. If it wasn't for that the victims are foreigners, few would have known this happened, given severe censorship, let alone getting into international news.
Thank you, Wang Yaqiu, because this can't be said enough.
Yeah.
These shills by the way, she's this is just so you don't misunderstand. She's being critical of the coverage of this.
Yes.
This is good. She's good.
she's good.
What she's saying is that if this were not foreigners that were attacked in that
stabbed?
Americans that were stabbed, if this is just random Chinese people, then this wouldn't have gotten any coverage.
Yeah.
And this is what we've said so many freaking times. Both the Chinese government and whatever, like anybody trying to run defense for them, will never pay attention if it's victims from China.
Yeah.
They'll never pay attention to it because they don't give a shit about their own people. It's their fodder.
Yeah.
Right?
They don't care how many Chinese people die daily from stabbings.
No. Why do you think we cover this stuff all the time? So we live there for so long.
Yeah.
We have Chinese friends and family. This affects us personally.
Yeah.
And we see what's happening there, and they get basically bulldozed over, and no one does anything about it.
Yeah.
It's so stupid and ridiculous.
So
I'm so happy she said this.
Yeah, I wanted to show you how the Chinese spin doctors work. Okay, the foreigners working for the Chinese government. Okay. So we got CCP Shill over here comes along and says, extremely sad to see people like Yachio manipulate the reporting of the story to suit their own interests and turn a tragedy into political statement on social media. 你说你自己吧. Yeah, exactly. This dude,
talking about
piece
yourself,
of shit,
bro.
does that all the time.
Who is it?
You know who it is.
Okay, one of
you
those.
know, may rhyme with the opposite of bacteria. Or whatever.
Okay, the other thing.
Yeah. So first of all, there is no busting the myth. The undeniable truth is that this was an isolated incident. See how they're using this isolated?
Was it though?
No, we'll see in a minute. And overall, China remains an extremely safe place to travel. See, again, extremely safe. We saw that in all of their posts. They're told to say this stuff. Yachio, which is spelled wrong. Yeah,
Get her name right.
Yeah, herself.
Chinese.
Herself lives in Washington, D.C., the U.S. capital, which has a much higher crime rate than any city in China. This is not true, by the way. This is just because you can't get the statistics out of China.
What does this have to do with anything, by the way?
Yeah.
He's like gaslighting this Chinese woman who is trying to say, if this was Chinese people, no one would pay attention, which she's right.
Yeah. The cold hard truth is that you are statistically more likely to be a victim of gun crime in D.C. than you are a knife attack in China.
Who's talking about D.C.?
Yeah.
This is not part of the conversation.
Yeah. He's like, no, this is not Chinese propaganda. It's simply looking at data and facts. Now, here's the very interesting part. It's incredibly lazy to report incidents like this and use one incident to stereotype an entire nation. For example, what about when 5 Chinese tourists were killed last year in last year's California shooting?
Hold on.
Full story.
Hold on. Mm-hmm. Did he just say what about?
Yes, he said what about.
What is that?
In whataboutism we trust. So please pay attention, you guys. This is so important. It went from a woman saying, this highlights a big problem in China. Normally, we wouldn't know about it. If it wasn't foreigners that were stabbed, we wouldn't know about it.
And she's 150% correct.
To this guy saying, what about gun crime in America?
DC.
Look at people trying to politicize a situation like this. Unlike, I mean, this guy does that all the time.
Something you have to be clear about.
Yeah.
This is a story that the 4 American professors or whatever got stabbed in China.
Yes.
The government tried to cover it up and erase it, right?
Yes, yes.
Yet he uses an example that was on the front page of every news in the whole world.
Here's the fun
and
part.
It's not even true.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the fun part. He says an incredibly lazy report to report incidents like this and use one incident to stereotype an entire nation. For example, what about when 5 Chinese tourists were killed in last year's California shooting? And he links to an article. So I'm like, let's take a look at this article that he linked. Okay. 5 Chinese citizens were killed in Half Moon Bay shooting, consulate said. Okay.
This is the shooting he's talking about.
Yeah, he linked this article.
Let me read this. Chunli Zhao, a Chinese citizen.
So
wait a minute. So the perpetrator was
Chinese citizen.
Not an American.
No.
It was a Chinese citizen.
Yeah.
And 66-year-old immigrant farm worker was the lone suspect in a massacre at 2 mushroom farms in northern California seaside town. He was formally presented with 7 counts of murder and a single count of attempted murder during his first court appearance in nearby Redwood City on Wednesday.
Yeah.
5 Chinese citizens were among the victims in the shooting in the California town of Half Moon Bay, the Chinese consulate general in San Francisco said. Now let's look at this detail next.
Yeah, what's this next detail?
Authorities say Zhao, 66, shot and killed 4 workers and wounded a 5th employee Monday at California Terra Garden. When he then went on to nearby Concord Farms, where he had worked previously and fatally shot 3 former coworkers. So let's go back to that tweet.
Yeah, let's see this tweet. This is the article that he linked. And he said, for example, what about when 5 Chinese tourists were killed in last year's California shooting? You mean 5 Chinese workers that were killed by a Chinese citizen?
Where's the tourists?
Yeah, no tourists involved here.
There's another key feature here.
Yeah.
He linked an article that was publicly released on CNN.
Yes.
In about 10,000 million other outlets.
And everybody read about it.
As soon as it happened.
Yes.
And it wasn't an American, which is what's implied here.
Yes.
Right? It was a Chinese citizen.
Yes.
The victims were Chinese citizens, and they were not tourists. So everything about this is wrong. They were workers,
yes.
right? Everything about this is wrong.
Yeah, he tried to use that as an example of China. What kind of an example is that? That Chinese people should be afraid of other Chinese people?
What are you trying to say here?
Yeah, what is that?
What is this? A publicly available news article that everybody saw is an example of something the Chinese government tried to cover up. And this Chinese woman correctly pointed out that if these weren't foreigners, if there were Chinese victims in the stabbing, that nobody would have paid attention, because she's right.
Yeah.
You failed. You failed, abjectly failed here.
This is a very bad take.
It's bad. Very bad.
This is how the Chinese spin doctors work, the foreigners that shill for the Chinese government. And this particular individual does work for Chinese state media, has been paid by Chinese state media. This is what he does. And again, isolated incident. Okay? So I've been wondering about this isolated incident nonsense, because, you know, everybody's going on about these freaking isolated incidents, for lack of a better word.
That's what they keep saying. The stabbings of the 4 American professors or whatever was an isolated incident. This doesn't happen.
So I pulled up Google Translate and I put in simplified Chinese isolated incident, and it translates to English as frequently occurring knife attacks.
Because that's what
exactly
what they
what
might
it
as
is.
well be writing here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Don't say isolated. You know what? If you keep doing this, if you keep calling this an isolated incident, it's going to end up getting in like the search results. An isolated incident will become a hashtag, which means a lot of knife attacks.
Yes,
it
it's
will
going to
become
mean
that.
Isolated incident's going to mean frequent knife attacks.
In China.
Yes.
You don't want that to happen.
Yeah, it's going to mean
Stop
Chinese
saying
knife
that.
attack.
Yes.
It's what it's going to be.
Because if they keep typing it, it'll get like...
So, no,
linked
he's a victim
together.
of another isolated incident.
Yeah,
you know?
Don't make that happen.
No, don't make it happen, because it's going to happen the way you guys are going on about it. So I thought I'd share with you guys just a little something. Daily, there are stabbings in China. Absolutely. Every single day in China, there are stabbings. Okay? I can prove this because I have access to a vast library of murders and stabbings and so on in China. Now, I try not to share too much of this stuff because it's depressing and it's horrible, but there is a very big problem in China with stabbings. Not only mass stabbings, but also vehicular homicides, where people ram their cars into groups of people and stuff. It's on the rise in China. I made a video called "It's Murder Season in China." If you want to go watch and find out about that. It's bad, but I thought I'd just take a couple of examples from the last, say, 3 weeks that I've shared.
So this is all recent stuff.
Very recent stuff. I'm not going to read the details of them, but I would like to just point out that all of these different blurred images here are separate events and separate things that happened that involved everything from school children to lovers' quarrels to random fights on the streets, little disputes, and just people losing their marbles. Okay?
And all stabbings.
All stabbings.
All within weeks.
Yes, all of these stabbings that you've seen.
I thought it was an isolated incident.
Certainly not an isolated incident. It's a big problem in China, and it's downplayed so much. It's insane. Daily, there are stabbings in China. Every single day, there are knife crimes in China. Mass like actual murders are happening in China, I'd say weekly at this point.
In schools, too.
Yeah.
Kindergartens.
Of course, kindergartens, yeah. It's a big problem. And again, did you hear about any of these things? I'm not going to show any of this. We'll get age restricted. But these stabbings that happen all the time, I'm pretty sure most people haven't heard about them. But you did hear about the one with the foreigners.
Yeah.
And again...
that's why she was right when she said
100%
that.
right.
Wang Yaqiu, she was saying, you wouldn't know about this because they're foreigners, right?
Yeah.
And you only pay attention when it's an American or something.
Exactly.
And this is the thing. This happens every day.
Absolutely
in China. It's not safe.
It's not safe. The reason why... the reason why people think it's safe is because it's censored. And I have a very good sort of analogy when it comes to this, guys. Have you, as an American, or somebody who's visited America, have you seen somebody get shot with your own eyes? And the reason I ask you this question is, just because you haven't seen someone get shot, does that mean that then that country has no gun violence?
Right.
You know, like
America has massive gun violence.
And we know this. We know this. And why do we know this?
Because it's reported.
Because we see it on CNN.
Yes.
Okay? Because we see it on Twitter.
Yes.
It's because we see it on every social media.
Yes.
And not only do we see it in American social media, we see it on international social media.
And including Chinese social media,
Big
which
time.
doesn't report on Chinese crime, by the way.
Yeah, no, but they constantly, if there's a
weird,
shooting or some gun violence in America, it's on Chinese news.
Right now,
Yeah.
it's insane. So you know how censored the Chinese internet is, right? You can't show like violence, can't show any of this
Yeah.
stuff, can't show sex, can't show any of that stuff.
Yeah.
If you go on Douyin right now,
Yeah.
which is Chinese TikTok, right? They have a different version, so it's censored and stuff. You'll never see Chinese crime.
No.
But you know what's being promoted crazily right now?
American crime.
American crime, and it's not censored.
It's all those body cam things
like
and whatnot.
shootings, like people shooting each other to death, like cops getting shot and all this stuff, not blurred.
Yeah.
And this is on a family-friendly platform that's supposed to be censored.
Douyin, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
It
They're
is.
doing it on purpose.
Yeah, of course. If you
87. Sorry.
If you were a Chinese shill, say, for instance, then you would have to now say that there is no gun violence, okay, wherever you live.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're doing. These shills that are like, I've lived here for so many years, or I visit China very often, and I can tell you that violent crime is not bad here, you know. The only reason they're saying that is because they haven't seen it with their own eyes.
And that's actually not true, because I lived in China a decade and I saw so much crime, it's not even funny. Way more crime than I've ever seen in my life in America.
Oh, yeah.
Not even close. My friends have been victims of crimes. My friends have been robbed at ATMs at knife point. I watched a guy get stabbed outside of a university. I've seen so much more violent crime in China than I have seen in the US.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't go around saying, oh, China's the most dangerous place in the world. You wouldn't even imagine it. But I saw that stuff.
Of course.
So I call bullshit on these shills.
Yeah, but even if they haven't seen it with their own eyes, because statistically you're not going to see crime, because, you know, like in every society you're going to have crime and bad things. But you know what? Most people don't see it.
Yes.
Even if you haven't seen it, you can still acknowledge that it exists and not try to pretend it doesn't. But a lot of them are also stupid and ignorant because it's not reported on. They don't know about it. Just like most Americans that we've seen here,
87%
most of
our audience here today
have not seen someone get shot in real life. So imagine you didn't have it on CNN because it's not allowed to because it's censored. Imagine you didn't have it on your social media platform.
Because you don't have social media.
And,
That's not
well,
controlled by
because the
government.
Chinese government has complete control over what gets said. They scrubbed all of the stabbing footage and stuff off. So imagine that if someone gets shot at a 7-Eleven in your neighborhood and the government deletes all the footage of that, doesn't allow it to be reported on CNN, and you've never seen a gun violence in your life, you would think that there's no gun violence.
Correct.
And that's why you get this skewed perception that China's safe.
Yes.
It's because people don't see it with their own eyes, just like you don't see people getting shot with your own eyes, and then they don't get the information from anywhere, so they don't know it exists,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And that's why you get this ridiculous situation where people think that knife violence is not a big thing in China. It's huge. It's rampant, okay? Violent crime is a problem in China. It's just not reported on. So that's the point I wanted to make there. One thing that I liked was CNN put this line in their article where they said, horrifying attack. Knife attacks are not uncommon in China, where guns are tightly controlled. The country has faced a spate of stabbing rampages in public places, including schools and hospitals.
Just so you think we're not leaving stuff out by omission, it goes on to say later that attacks against foreigners are rare, statistically.
Yeah.
Statistically, right? The stabbings, in general, nuts. Absolutely
nuts.
out of control. Right now, especially.
So one of the victims, actually, we got some audio from one of the victims here. IPR, I think it is.
Iowa Public Radio.
Yeah, Iowa Public Radio managed to get a hold of one of the victims. So let's listen to what he has to say here.
Zachary Orrin Smith spoke with one survivor who's still in a Chinese hospital.
On Monday morning, Zabner and his colleagues toured a public park. As they were leaving, a man brandishing a knife stabbed 4 of them.
And I turned around to see a man brandishing a knife at me. I didn't immediately realize that that was what was happening. I thought that my coworkers had been pushed. And then I looked down at my shoulder and realized, oh, no, I'm bleeding. I've been stabbed.
So immediately that squashes this whole rumor that the foreigners were aggressive and having a heated argument or doing something crazy like that or bumping into the guy. And, you know, because this guy didn't even know about it. He heard a scream and he turned around and there was a guy with a knife.
Yeah.
Okay. If there had been some kind of altercation, some kind of like argument or something, he would have heard it, right? He would have known that there was something going wrong in his group. So this like I said, immediately quashes all these weird rumors that were going around the Chinese internet that the foreigners were aggressive and the guy was
these
self-defense.
random old professors walking
Yeah.
around like started a fight or whatever.
Yeah. Obviously,
Come
that
on.
didn't happen.
Come
And the funny thing is, the foreign ministry and the police and everyone, man, they went and told everybody that the foreigners bumped into this guy and it made him angry, and that's why he did it. You know,
And he
what
was
I mean?
down on his luck.
Yeah, down on his luck.
And
That's
unemployed.
Great. Yeah, isn't that great?
That's the excuse. Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, let's carry on with what he said.
Pictures and videos of the aftermath began circulating on Chinese social media sites, most of which has since been taken down. In one picture, Zabner is on his side, wincing in pain. Paramedics see to another instructor bleeding from his back behind him.
I can see why kind of the visceral proof of what happened is important. But it's also really upsetting.
He says he's looking forward to returning to Iowa as soon as he can.
I'm pretty sure he's looking forward to returning to Iowa as soon as he can.
Yes.
Zachary Oren Smith.
Corn sounds better
IPR
than knives.
News.
Yes. Okay, now just to say that this kind of stuff has happened in China.
Yeah, against
And
foreigners.
yeah, there have been some high-profile cases, like, for instance, the relative of U.S. coach killed in the Beijing attack. This was during the Beijing Olympics. A Chinese man stabbed the in-laws of U.S. Olympic men's volleyball coach, killing one and injuring the other. Okay, that happened. But, you know, the funny thing is there's a lot that are not reported on. This one was Sun Lituan murder was an anti-foreign attack. Yesterday saw the funeral of Gu Wenqing, the 28-year-old Shandong woman fatally stabbed in a brutal and apparently xenophobic attack while she walked with her French husband in Beijing's Sun Lituan district on August 13th. So this was 2015. And we all remember that tragic story. So the guy asked the other guy if he was American, and he said no, because he was French.
But then, still stabbed him.
But he still stabbed, well, he tried to kill him and he killed his wife, his Chinese wife, which is horrible. We had it's foreigner stabbed to death outside of a nightclub in Fujian. That was in 2014, I believe.
This is just what's reported.
This is just what's reported, right? There was this man surnamed Kong, who's 28, stabbed a foreign student in the chest with a knife on July 11, 2018, following a quarrel. Sorry, Cong. I was saying Kong. What am I? King Kong. It's been out of China too long. Cong. Okay. The attack ruptured the victim's heart and he bled to death, Jiangsu police said in a statement later that day. The victim was a 26-year-old foreign student at a university. The police didn't release any further information and withheld his nationality and name, and to this day I can't find out where he was from other than the fact that he was just a foreigner who got stabbed and killed. You know, that's the thing. The quarrel ensued after Tong's scooter slightly rubbed against the expat, following which Tong bought a fruit knife from a nearby supermarket and returned to the spot and attacked the expat.
Went back.
Yeah, so he bumped into this guy. They had an argument. He went to a supermarket, bought a knife, and came back and killed him.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Okay, I lived in Shenzhen for 14 years. Okay, I traveled around the whole of China. When you live in a place, and especially when I became more and more famous living there and people got to know me, I got to hear a lot about what was going on. And there's this place in Fujian, it's called, in Futian, what the hell am I saying? Futian district in Shenzhen, which is called Coco Park. It's like a shopping mall type thing, and then there's a lot of clubs, and a lot of foreigners go there. And I won't mention the clubs' names here, but people got stabbed a lot there.
Yeah, I used to hear about it all the time.
Yeah, a lot. And somebody who I personally know got stabbed 7 times.
Yep.
He survived, by the way, but he got like somebody that I used to hang out and drink with.
Yep.
He was a mouthy guy, so he was at the club and he was doing his usual job, and a Chinese guy followed him into the bathroom and stabbed him 7 times. He survived. And he lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
And so we all called it, he used the 7 stab kung fu method of losing weight or whatever. But I'm just saying, the fact that I personally know people that were stabbed, and I heard and I was told about other people that were stabbed and murdered in and around Coco Park, but it never made international news, again shows you that this is an isolated incident, yes, but not really. You know what I mean? It happens. And the fact that I know people that were stabbed and it didn't make the news makes you think how many times, just because they weren't important or just because, they were kind of a loser drifter or something, or a backpacker that wasn't important to anyone, never made the news.
I know a lot of foreigner murder stories in China.
I do want to say that if you are somebody considering to go to China, maybe a student on like a foreign exchange program, if you
what
have
exchange? There's 700 Americans in China, 700 American students, and 290,000 Chinese students in America.
Yeah, it's a one-way exchange.
Which I welcome that, but where's the exchange?
There is no
Because it's
exchange.
only 700 Americans.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
Anyway,
it's
sorry.
a one-way thing. You're right. You're right about that, though. It's crazy. When they talk about cooperation, it always seems to be one way. It's like, what can we get from you? You know, just ignore. We
This is
won't
the
give you
government we're
anything.
talking about, by the way. This because they're an initiative.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. If you have maybe a young teenager who's planning on going to study in China or do a gap year or something, I'm now at that point where I'm going to advise against it.
Me too.
Previously,
I wanted exchange before.
Yeah, previously I would say to people, hey, if you want to go to China, go ahead. Go have an adventure, you know, just stay away from politics. You know, you can still have a blast. It's still an amazing country to explore and all that. But I've reached a point now where in all good conscience, I cannot suggest for people to do that anymore.
Yeah, and just to cap that off, I want to say it's not even because of this new incident. It's just because of the serious escalation we've seen in nationalism get ramped up over the past 5 years or so.
Yeah.
It's been out of control.
Yeah, so that would be my advice is rather stay away,
Yeah.
you know, for now.
Yeah.
What? Okay, what do you think's going on there?
Check that out.
Whoa, that's epic.
I don't think that's good for you.
Yeah,
There's no way that's good for your knee.
I don't think so.
What are you achieving there? I mean, it's fun.
Tarzan dreams, maybe?
Yeah, Tarzan fantasy.
Yeah.
How can you not be laughing when you're doing this?
That's not impressive.
Can you pause that? I mean,
He
guys.
must have been doing that for a long, long time. There's that tree's pretty worn down.
See, because everyone does it.
Come on. He's like hitting his forehead on the bar.
Why?
Why?